You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Adam Jocelyn.
Winner, winner.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I got one too. Brian McCubbin.
Howdy ho, everybody.
Hey, David Hall.
Hello.
Welcome. And Greg Hectus.
What's up, everybody?
Doing well. Steve Thompson.
Hola, amigos. Come on in and sit down next to Mike Ellis here. Take a seat.
All right, on the show today, we will be taking a look at the best way to use the new Active Reset system. We look at some UI versus website comparisons. VR users are up in arms after performance issues and whether iRacing has addressed these issues. We get reviews and thoughts on the SimiCube Active pedals and lots of other hardware.
And remember, guys, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to this show and see for yourself all these great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. So let's get on there and see you there.
Are you tired of your pedals feeling like a video game? Want to step up the feeling like you're actually driving? We designed our P1 Pro pedals to feel exactly like a real car, giving you a better feeling when you're driving. Push braking zones to the limit and avoid locking up by having a finer feel of those limits. Trail brake into the corners smoother, allowing you to carry more speed. Our P1 Pro pedals will be the last set of pedals you'll ever purchase for your simulator. A lifetime warranty is included. That means if you ever run into issues in the years to come, we'll service them and keep them perfect at simcoaches.com.
Let's kick things off, starting immediately with some of the graphics issues. We have a topic, micro stutters with Junior. And Kevin Kingstyle on Twitter has noticed that the reflections on his hood are dropping the frame rate to 15 FPS. Dale Jr. also replied in an unrelated matter that he's seeing them with tight turns on road courses and short tracks. And he didn't have it in the past.
Yeah, Kevin King, that's a name to remember. He's actually made it to the Coke series. And so we'll see him next year running in there. But I thought it was interesting that even the director of iRacing has reported micro stutters. And I know he has a really good, beefy computer.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues with mine, and I read through the forums, especially on the VR forums, and there's lots of people, especially with running the VR. The XR were having lots of issues, and that's why I run, but I had no issues whatsoever, so I was happy with that.
I haven't run into any with OpenVR either.
Hot patch that they put out, the last one right before the recording, was to fix VR users with OpenVR. Apparently, they couldn't launch the sim if you use OpenVR, and they fixed that.
Well, I was able to.
Yeah, I know David Tucker was talking that it seemed to be an issue with the cockpit. Inside the cockpit, they were having some issue that they were going to change the programming on.
All right, moving over to the new features. I thought we talked about this a little bit last week, but we've got them linked right at the top, or maybe somebody else posted a video similar to this. iRacing has posted a video explaining how to use the new Active Reset.
Yeah, this is more
Yeah, they
like
came out.
iRacing's official official introduction and description of how to use it. We talked about some of the guys last week who were streamers and content providers showing their their dealings with this active reset. But this is actually the official iRacing explanation and introductions.
That Nibbon video was pretty funny and entertaining to watch. Usually I'm watching a YouTube video or something, I skim halfway through it, but watch the whole thing. Pretty entertained.
That gave me some ideas for sure. Nick Nebon's video. I mean, he used it to set up to take a jump or to see how not jump, but to try to wreck his car. He was trying to see how bad he could wreck it. And so he set it up, going real fast, and then he would reset every time and wreck it over and over and over.
Yeah, that was actually really funny to watch. But it gives me some thoughts that maybe some of the highlights and not top tens we'll see might get even more interesting because people can fabricate stuff by using this active reset. It's like you watch those videos they have on the internet where like a guy kicks a soccer ball and it hits the house and then hits the dog and goes in. Well, they did it 1,000 times before they got that to happen. Well, with the active reset, you can basically do the same thing and try to create these crazy scenarios um, without having to, you know, without, and do it over and over in a relatively short period of time compared to the way you used to.
Like spin off of turn four at Atlanta and go through the grass and then somehow land in your box, your pit box perfectly, some kind of maneuver like that. You could set that up where the active reset starts right at coming out of turn four and you flip it through the grass, and try to hit your box just perfect.
Yeah, so I would be more impressed with those videos if you saw other cars on there. Since can you active reset with AI? Because otherwise, you have to be in a test session, right?
I
Yeah, I
haven't
think
tried
it's
it with
only
AI.
test sessions. I think it's only test sessions that you can do it. I'm not 100% sure, but I've never seen any examples through all the different videos and stuff where I've seen it done with other cars on the track.
I was thinking trying to do the jump at Bathurst or at Sears Point, when I try to jump the cars and see how airborne I can get them. I mean, this is perfect for something like that where you get it set up perfect and you hit that button, where it's set up every time and then you just do it over and over until you get the perfect one. So there's a lot of neat purposes for this that some of these videos have opened up the possibilities of.
Right.
Um, Pretty cool.
This is the equivalent of the soapbox derby on Mount Washington. It's an unintended consequence of something that they brought out. I don't think they designed it to be something where you can test crashing and stuff like that and do all kinds of weird stuff like that. But we get our hands on this stuff and start to get creative with it, and all kinds of weird things come pop up.
Right. Now, I've used it effectively this week. So I was having trouble at Summit Point in the new Indy Pro F2 or Indy Pro 2000, I think it's called. Um, I was wrecking a lot, and so there was one real fast left-hand kink at Summit I was pretty slow at. So I set up an active reset in a test session for about 20 minutes and just did that corner over and over about 50 or 100 times. I don't know how many times it was. But I figured it out. I figured out I wasn't slowing enough for the corner, and I need to definitely slow the car down like 20 mile an hour, and then turn left, and it works. And so I think that helped me as I went into the next races actually, and I had better results.
I used it for practice for our league race at Nashville for pit stops on worn out tires, and it worked pretty good. It was a little first time I used it was kind of stunned me though as it comes back on and you're going 180 miles an hour into turn three.
And the shakers go into effect, and your force feedback goes back to effect all of a sudden, right? It's a little jarring. You have to be ready for it.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't ready the first couple times I ran into the wall.
My problem so far is I hit the first button where I want it, and then I mistakenly hit the same button again, and then I mess up my first mark, and I have to start over. And so I have to really figure out. I don't have enough buttons either. I need to. I probably I'm going to have to get more buttons to make this work right because I don't have enough for the custom sectors, the start and the finish of the custom sector. I just mapped the start and then the reset.
That's a good thing. Maybe start looking for different button boxes that are just simplistic. You don't need anything super fancy. That just has enough buttons for you to program just specifically for the active reset if it's something that you're going to be using a lot.
You really need four dedicated buttons for this. Um, and I'm thinking I would, probably going to use it on a regular basis. Another purpose I used it for is today when they were deploying the hot fix, I went into test drive and drove the Lotus 49 out the Nordschleife, and I kept wrecking before getting around to the back half of the track, and it takes so long to get back there that once I got back there, I hit the active reset button. And then if I crashed off, I didn't have to start over at the pits. I was already halfway around the back of the track. And so it works for that scenario too.
Yeah, if you want to try to keep yourself from accidentally resetting your mark, if you have a toggle that you can cover, like your ignition throttle, use that.
That's a good idea.
Good idea.
All right, I got the next one because I've probably been playing in the LMDH more than anybody else. Yup Delight shows his LMDH MJQ unit doing and how often you can change modes. And basically, he's already set up a dashboard. I know that JRT's got an update out as well, and it's working on his dashboard as well. And it's giving you a better visual with text of what's going on the the different deploy modes you can pick, as well as your battery status and how often you can switch.
And you figured out that like during Daytona, we're going to switch it twice a lap, I think.
I don't know yet. That's a possibility. That might give you a little bit more efficiency. I don't know right now if this type of hybrid is more efficient in the low gears. See, the thing with the LMP is your battery was just better to use in the low gears and not in the high gears. It was just a more efficient use of the charge. I don't know how much this is doing that or not. So I'm sure at with there will be eventually some testing and some wisdom kind of leak out as to what might be the optimum strategy. But you only get a couple of switches, and you can't unless you use the drop down. You can't skip straight from say build to attack. You have to go to between all of them if you're using a button.
Right. So I assume this display that he's built is for SimHub, but he doesn't say specifically.
Well,
Pretty cool.
let's jump onto our crusade here, right? The beta UI debate. Tell us about this one, Mike.
Well, I always knew that it took more clicks in the beta UI than the website, and it took more time to do stuff. And now we actually have a iRacer Colin Fern. Well, he put up a poll, and another guy, he actually put together some actual numbers around how many clicks it is and how many seconds it takes to do certain things.
Yeah,
So,
real quick, Mike, I tried to find out who did this because whoever took the time to do this, I really appreciate it. But I wasn't able to get onto the forum link to find out who created this. But whoever did it, kudos.
We can
yeah,
get it
so
added to script later.
it says register for race session. On the web, he could do it in as low as 3 clicks or 8 seconds. Okay. But the UI, 4 clicks, 26 seconds. So it's more than triple the amount of time. They did get it down to only one additional click, 4 instead of 3.
So what's taking all the extra time? I'm still not using it. Is it just that each page loads that slow?
Yeah, it's almost 3 times as long to get to where you need to get.
Yeah, that's essentially it, I think. I mean, he described the method of testing. Now, like Brian said, the forum post has been removed, which is a little telling in itself. That people are discussing about the beta UI and why this might be a problem 3 months from now. Um, and then they removed the post completely. So it probably got out of hand, the conversation.
He doesn't. You know what? One thing he doesn't have on here that I'd be really curious about is joining leagues. On the member website, you just go to league sessions and then you click right in. Um, I
Two
know UI
clicks.
is a lot more difficult for joining league races.
Yeah, and then Colin Fern, he did the vote on Twitter, and he had 231 votes. 63% prefer the member site, while 36% prefer the beta UI.
And I
So,
think I think at this point the UI's been out long enough that if it was, I don't think this poll would be skewed based on something being new. It's been out long enough that if you don't like it, you're not using it. If you are, you are. And I think this poll result kind of reflects that. It's not a brand new thing that they just brought out that people are getting used to.
well, I've had, I think I've been trying to keep track, but about 8 or 9 now, uh, failed race attempts, failed launches into the sim since I went cold turkey on the beta UI. And I haven't had those before that. So when I launched from the website prior to this, I never had a problem. Okay. Now, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 9 different issues, including one today, which decided to join Dirt Rookie Street Stock, and which they opened up to everybody. That was part of the new build. And I loaded up into the sim. It loaded in, and then it said disconnecting from network. Uh, Something something mismatch, whatever that is. Tried to reload again in 2 or 3 times, it wouldn't work. I had to forfeit and actually lost about 100 I rating.
That
So that's
hurts.
kind of ticking me off, that hey, and the Donnie said he has the same problem sometimes where he's having intermittent launch issues where it's not launching for him as well.
Yeah, I've been using the UI for quite a while now, to get into the races and stuff. So I got used to it in case they killed the regular website. And fortunately, I haven't had any issues getting into races and stuff. I did have some issues when I was using OpenVR. It would go to about 25%, and I'm not having that issue with XR now. So I don't know if what that had to do with the UI.
It's definitely intermittent. I mean, it works most of the time, but man, the time it doesn't work, it hurts.
Yeah, especially when you're when you're losing I rating points.
It's just absurd to replace a good product with something not as good. Plain and simple.
That's how Verizon does it at work. Where I work, they give out new systems for us to use that are supposed to be enhanced. Well, guess what? They're the same way. They're not enhanced. They're actually worse than what we currently have. They're slower. They take more mouse clicks. They take more time. They're not as efficient. And so, yeah, it boggles the mind.
Well, it's interesting. The first the beta UI they came out with was actually, I think it was made for VR because it actually worked in VR headsets. And then I think they scrapped that as they realized that not everybody was going to go to using VR.
When they first launched the beta UI, my graphics card would kick in like the sim launched and fans on high and you know everything the computer was getting hot just running the beta UI. But they fixed that. Obviously, it doesn't have the load that it used to. So there's been a lot of things that have been fixed, and like I said, most of the time it's working. But man, they got some work to do in just a short 3 months.
This next one's right up my alley, and I've had this happen to me before. What happens in multi-class racing whenever we're coming to a start is the groups like to leave a gap to each other because when you're in your first lap or two and everybody's too wide, the classes are not going to be going as fast, and so you can kind of get caught up with the rear of the faster class, and it can cause a little mayhem. Problem is, people don't wait till the green to go in the road course races, especially even though the sporting code actually says the second and third class need to wait for the green. They start going early. And so what happens here is the it looks like the LMDH class waited on the green and the LMP2s decided we're going early and they ran into the LMDHs who hadn't even started yet.
Yeah, this was posted by Dan Suzuki. He's a good follow. Um, and it's crazy just watching him. He's just going pace speed, 50 miles an hour or something. And these cars just plow into him at full speed. Unbelievable. It's unreal.
Yeah, it does need to be dealt with. It's probably protestable because those the second class is not supposed to go before the green flag. Um, but maybe if they start developing this restart zone for multi-class and make each car go when they get to a certain point, that would be great. Uh, um, it's just you're kind of just dependent on the guys in the other classes to not be idiots. And even if you process it, they're gonna go, no, don't do that again. They'll never suspend somebody for this kind of stupidity, even though it's worse than people intentionally wrecking people. Quite frankly,
I mean, how many pole sitters are going to know the proper procedures? How far do I hang back? When do I start going? That kind of thing. I mean, that's a very unclear. When I first was presented this situation many, many years ago, when I first got involved in multi-class racing, I was a little baffled, and I never had to be the leader, but I've been in that second group, and I was wondering why are we backing off of the group in front of us? I didn't understand that, and they backed off quite a bit. And I was like, "What's going on? Let's catch up." And they were doing it on purpose, and I didn't understand. But yeah, I mean, I guess people have to know, and if you don't know, you don't know.
maybe I mean it's buried in the sporting code. Maybe at least a splash screen that starts coming up for the or something in the gray box that says if you're uh, a slower class, wait on the green.
Like
Just another way to get the message out to them because yeah, a lot of people just don't know.
this, that window that is on your screen that says "wait behind the pace" or "stay behind the pace car" or whatever. That meant maybe they add something to that if you're in that second group or
Yep,
something. Yeah,
that little gray box. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Yeah, it does need to be addressed. Hopefully, they're paying attention to it. All right, Brian, this one's up your alley. How about we got some World of Outlaw week 3?
Yeah, so Monday night was week 3 of the World of Outlaws iRacing series presented by CarQuest. It was held at Williams Grove Speedway, and we had a winner for the second week in a row. Hayden Cardwell took the victory. There was really not a whole lot of doubt in the race towards the end. He was starting to get run down by his second place car, Braden Eiler, but he was able to hold on fairly well to get his win. It was pretty much a start to finish victory for Hayden. He never lost the lead at all. He won the pole position um, and won his first heat, and it was pretty much over at that point. Now there was some drama because Alex Bergeron, who was the leader in points coming to week 3. He had the second worst qualifying of anybody. So he started in 8th place in the heat. He needed to get up to 4th in order to be able to make the feature, and he got lucky because there was about a 4 car wreck in his heat, and he was able to worm his way up and finish P3 in that heat that he was in, and wound up doing a good job in the feature, finishing P4 to really save a lot of points that he could have lost in this after this race. So second place was like I said, it was Braden Eiler and Timothy Smith finished third. Um, and so actually, with that finish, Alex Bergeron actually gained more points in his championship race. He's now up by like 47 points over Timothy Smith in second, JD Brown in third. Um, Hayden Cardwell, despite having 2 wins now, 2 out of 3 wins for the season, he is actually in P6 in the points race because his first week at Volusia was he wrecked out and didn't get any points. So it's not unheard of him heard of for him to come back from a lot of points to make a run for a championship despite having a bad result here and there. So congratulations to Hayden for his second win. A couple other things to note on this series before we go to week 4 next week. They actually rearranged the schedule with the release of Lincoln Speedway. They actually put Lincoln on the schedule for next week, and they actually removed Bristol Dirt from the championship series. So Bristol Dirt is not going to be part of this series this year. So that's a new update. And one last thing before we get to our next topic, which actually kind of ties in, is that Braden Eiler, who finished second, who was trying to run Hayden down towards the end of the race, runs VR. And in the post race interview, he said, my VR frame rates were dropping a lot while I was racing and trying to catch Hayden. And when you're running that close, the racing line to be fast at that track was right up against the wall, and you had to be so precise to keep your car off the wall and keep fast. When you're having frame rate drops like did, he said that that actually cost him some time on the track where he was not able to be as precise as he needed to be. He might have hit the wall more than he wanted to because his frame rate drops. And he mentioned that he's had that problem ever since this last build. So this was Monday before any of the patches came out this week. So so going into our next story, keep in mind that it may have affected one of the drivers' chance to possibly get a win in the World of Outlaw series.
Ryan, the other thing is Kyle Larson's been talking up his new dirt series, High Limit Racing. Um, and I don't know what the I don't follow dirt close enough to really know what's going on, but I think he's trying to take on the World of Outlaws here, or take their drivers or something, right?
Yeah, there's a couple other high level series. Tony Stewart runs the All Stars series, which is also a traveling series like the World of Outlaws. They go to different local tracks and compete in those. But and they do get some really good drivers in the All Star race. So it's not unheard of to have competitive series out there for dirt. And when you got Kyle's name behind it, and everything that he brings to the table, you might be able to pull some drivers out of these other top series to join and make his new series pretty competitive.
Well, any type of racing is healthy if you got several series coming after the same drivers instead of it,
Right.
a situation where you're hoping you can get field fillers.
You just don't want too many divisions because then it gets diluted. Like up here in the north, we have like 5 or 6 different series of modifieds, and sometimes it gets a little strung out. The races they get the car count hurts. And there's too many series.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump right onto that topic that you brought up, Brian, about the 22 pages of frustration.
Well, yeah, many people. I'll jump on this one. Many people are in the forums talking about it. Last I looked, it was 22 pages. Um, and so, like I said, there was a hot fix put out today. To it, it said the hot fix was to address anyone that was having open VR issues launching. but I don't know if it addressed these 22 pages of restoration. I think we've covered this already, but yeah, let's move on.
And that was hot fix number 2 that was released, I guess it was today, right?
Early today, right?
And then interestingly, they went back down for downtime. Do we have that later on the script?
So so the one I just mentioned was when they went back down. So this is the one they did earlier, and this one was to fix the VR as well. So they tried to fix it early once, then they did it again. So I don't know. Is it fixed? I don't know because it just happened.
Yeah, the other one's hotfix 3, and it says fixed a critical crash error during initialization of OpenVR, and then visual effects. It says fixed an issue with low resolution particles appearing to draw over cars and other objects on medium quality. Rendering was selected for use. So that was the one later in the day at 12:03 p.m.
Which I did get to do the test drive. I mentioned the Lotus 49 at the Nord. I really wanted to test drive the Formula One W13. Guess what? It wasn't in the list. I was a little surprised. I thought you could test any car that you didn't own, but apparently not.
Yeah, Tony Rochette chimed in team chat and said they usually hold the brand new cars off the first time around.
So did when this first hot fix came out, is that when everybody started had the launching issues and then they had to release the second one? Because the
Right.
first one, the first hot fix was really just for the graphics and rendering in VR, which is the frame rate drops that they're trying to fix. And then I guess they sent that one out, and then they started having problems where people were not able to get into the sessions at all, and then they had to come out real quick for another fix.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, it's pretty prompt fixing though. That's bugs happen. I'm glad to see they responded as fast as they could on it.
Yeah, well done. So we'll see. We'll know more later.
So how do you go from first or last to first in 2 laps at Dega? Well, usually with a lot of help. I gave this video a watch, and this guy starts all the way in the back. He makes some good moves to get about mid pack, and then there's death in the pack, and he's one of the 3 survivors, and then carry it on from there.
I mean, he was smart to stay low. I mean, he saw that there was going to be death in the pack, as you call it, and he went way low to miss it all. I mean, he went way down there.
Yeah, and then on the final lap, he was a third in line and got a good run, and the second in line went low. He went high, and the leader, the former leader, just couldn't block either one of them. He had no choice.
Well, and you get stuck in the middle, you get kind of sucked back a little bit, and yeah, he had momentum. Just went around on the outside. Nice little video
And
by at
that
Parker
yeah, it was Parker White was the driver.
at Parker W95 on Twitter.
All right, so it's not hardware yet, but we have the Sim Cave review. Who threw this one up? Steve, did you find this one?
Nope, not me.
We have I did. I got a couple different. This isn't really a rig review, but a sim cave review or a room review. Um, so Daniel Morad, who's I think a IMSA driver, he shows off his really nice sim cave. Um, and we also have a show off by Shane Van Gisbergen, who I believe has won the supercar championship in Australia this year. What do you think of Daniel's setup? I mean, it's pretty nice. He's got his helmets on display. He's got his rig. It's all set up for video. He's got a lighting system. He's got blackout curtains. He's got a regular desk, to do his, editing or streaming or whatever. Pretty nice.
It properly looks like
When
his
someone
room,
asks me how
right?
much I've spent,
Of course, the neon lights, to kind of, light up the rig. He's got some under lights under it, with some red.
I like the
And then the
helmets on the
second
wall.
one,
Good idea.
that is nice, isn't it? And then the second rig is the Shane Van Gisbergen, and he has a more, he doesn't have the fancy lights or anything. He does look like he's got a separate room for his rig, and he's got a really nice, I think it looks like a 55-inch TV.
Is
He's
that a
got
trophy
SimiCube
or a
2,
tuba next to the monitor?
looks like a trophy. He's got the Jinx shifters, the tri shifters. I see. He's got a SimLab seat. I can't tell what the cockpit is.
So he's set up. You'll notice he's set up with the shifter on the left,
Yep,
unless
and
it
it
just
brakes and everything.
mirrored wrong because
Looks
of
like he's
iPhone or whatever.
driving the Holden, so maybe that's why.
Ah, yeah. So he's Aussie down in, and so those other two adjustments are for Robar, I believe, right? The blue and red.
That's those cool looking Jinx shifters. I think they're brakes, hand brakes, or shifters, or both.
One is the handbrake, and then one is the sequential, and then the other two actually adjust your row bars.
Pretty cool. I recommended Donnie to look at the Jinx shifter. Or no, who was it? It was Brian, I think. Brian, you were looking at a shifter, and I told you to look at the Jinx.
Yeah, I was looking at the BDH shifter.
Oh yeah, the nice one from England.
All right, Brian, did you take the red pill or the blue pill?
I took the blue pill. This is a video posted by Alex Horn. It was on Twitter, and it shows off some of the new GT damage model in this really cool video where these cars they just come crash. A bunch of cars just come crash into a dead stop against the wall, which is neat enough. But what he did was he um, paused the wreck in mid wreck and just kind of moved the camera around, and all of the particles that are flying through the air, he kind of some neat music accompanied it, and he's just following around the different parts of the crash while all this debris is just suspended in midair as he's flowing through. It kind of give it like a Matrix type effect. Even what I really thought of when I saw this was like the opening scene of Deadpool when those cars are crashing on the freeway and the credits are rolling, and you just go through all this carnage as the music's playing. Kind of reminded me quite a bit of like that. Really cool. And I've never seen so many different particles involved in wrecks like this in iRacing. It's pretty neat to see.
Uh, The music was from the Matrix.
Okay. Well, I like the Deadpool reference better.
Now, coincidentally, I actually did a short video in our chat, our team chat, of particles while the wreck was paused because I thought it looked freaking cool. I noticed it as well when I was watching a replay of my wreck. I ended up pausing it right as it hit the wall and watching. I wanted to. And I actually zoomed in to see what was it that was flying off the car. Does it? It kind of looked like it was a nut or a bolt or something. But when you see the video, they're actually just little small squares and stuff. But when it's going in full motion and everything, you can't tell what it is, but it looks very realistic. I mean, it's like dirt and debris and parts off the car and that kind of thing.
All right, this one we could probably go roundtable on this one. Everybody, what was your favorite moment of the year? As iRacing has asked on Facebook.
I'll go first. I answered on Facebook my 4 NIS wins this year. So I put up a graphic that showed I won at Phoenix, uh, finale. I won at the Charlotte Roval, a road course, the new Atlanta, and the Bristol Dirt. So several unique wins. They all mean something important to me, and I'm glad to get them.
Kind of the same thing. The Phoenix win, where I had been behind and slower on the long run the whole race, and basically made a pass in the last 10 laps, after 400 laps to take the victory. That one was pretty exciting.
Other listeners, Tony Rochette said Daytona 500 win. I see Denver Turgeson. He said December 20th when I finished my suspension. Yikes.
That's funny.
Maybe David's will be when he gets off probation off of chat.
You know, you'd be surprised. It's actually been kind of nice. I have really not had a problem with it.
I tried just turning off voice chat in general on here a couple months ago for like a week, and it was pretty nice. Used to be able to focus on driving, not listen to people bickering.
You bring it up, and I could have brought this up maybe in Final Thoughts, but it really this time just like even in the league race with the Winter Series, they're giving me my chat back, but I've got caught up in some incidents, and I've just kept my mouth shut and waited to see after till afterwards, and even relatively stayed calm because I'm not venting, and things have kind of like this league race. Like I look out and it worked out in my advantage. We'll talk about that more later, but we'll see if I keep the lesson learned because it's really just hard not to yell at somebody when they've done something stupid. But I have learned if it's a gray area to just not even ask and just wait until I can see it later.
I yelled at somebody in a league race last night. I had a super late model race at Bristol, and I got spun out, took tires halfway through the race, and got up to the inside of third place, and he got loose with 15 to go on my outside and hooked me right rear in the wall, and I screamed at him. So I probably need mine muted sometimes.
All right, so Steve, what has happened to the street stocks with licenses?
Uh, Paul Kuzmierik asked the forum street stock rookies now open to all licenses. Staffer Tyler Hudson replied, "We plan on opening it up for the 2023 season one, which is now. This has always been open for road and dirt road and used to be on ovals. We would like to get the rookie series consistent across the different license classes, and so we will do that for this upcoming season, which is now."
Seems to make sense. At, at your own risk with your I rating when you go into those short races, though the split sizes are really small too. So if you are up high in the I rating, you're not going to be racing rookies.
That's a good point. I was debating this earlier today and I put out in the chat, should I do it? And Tony Grove said, no way. You're just going to get wrecked immediately and give up all your I ratings. So I didn't actually do it. I'm still debating if I'm going to do it or not. I'm probably going to try it once just to see what happens.
Well,
Huh.
you don't have biggest thing is you don't have cautions to kind of regroup things when things get stupid. In the same way that it goes with road races, but at least in the longer races, you have time to kind of gain some of your stuff back if something goes a little wrong.
Yeah, I'm just curious what people are running this. They just opened it up, so it's not widely publicized really, and so that's why we're talking about it. But will people that are above 4,000 I rating jump in these races? I don't know.
Someone might if they want to go down and farm.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is this a new way to farm? So you might see me in there within the next week. I'm going to try it once and just see what happens. See who shows up. There was a great video on YouTube by a DJ VJ, DJ VJ, and he said iRacing just changed rookie street stocks forever. And he talked about some of the reasons he thinks it's a good idea. Um, he just he thinks it'll help the rookies that are in the rookie class by being able to race with actual drivers that have skill and higher I rating. He thinks that's going to end up giving them a better skill base as they come out of rookie license. That was his basic premise of his video.
And it might clean, like he's saying, the guy was explaining, it might clean up some of the lower series as people come up through, not causing mayhem as
Right.
much.
Well, how big
Because
are sorry, how big are those fields in street stock? Because I know it's only like 12 cars in the Mazdas.
it's a max of 14 and a minimum of 6.
Uh,
But say
yeah.
you don't get like, say you get like 19 cars, it'll probably do like 19 because it won't split. It does that in late models on here. It'll split at like 10. And no, it'll split at 20. But if you have like 19 cars, it'll do a full fill of 19.
Well, there's max size and there's split size, and they're not always the same.
See, I would like it if it was 19. I don't think I would like it if it was 12 or 14. I'm picky like that.
All right, we've got a new organization, it looks like, called Screen to Speed, Brian.
Yeah, this looks like it's a organization that might be designed for women drivers. Has a verification page with rules and regulations that you have to read through in order to qualify this. But it specifically says it Screen to Speed aims to give representation to women or individuals who identify as women in sim racing, esports, and motorsports. The goal is to create critical mass community to provide opportunities for females in this space. So aliens are welcome if there's any alien women out there who are driving. And they encourage everyone to participate as spectators and supporters, but only women or individuals who publicly identify as women. So you can't just pretend like you're a woman. You have to have it in public somehow. And I guess you have to prove that some way. I'm not sure how that works at all. But yeah, so it's a it seems like it's a new way to race with people, and they have a Discord channel that you can check out to get added to and go from there.
This is sponsored by Pennzoil, and this is not publicized as far as I know. I stumbled across this under Time Attack. I clicked into the Beta UI Time Attack, and it was the first box listed. I clicked on it, and it mentioned Screen to Speed, and so I went to their website and I found screentospeed.com. The prizes: 15,000 cash, a trip to the live show, pro level racing simulator, a live Porsche track day, VIP passes to the Kelly Moss IMSA race with full hospitality, and Ask Me Anything with a professional female racer, an event t shirt, poster, stickers, gaming equipment.
I bet you see like Abby Rabbits or whatever her name is around us.
I'm just letting all you know I identify as a woman from today forward.
Well, my last name is Jocelyn, so that's a girl's name, so I can run this right.
Are you going to let the hair grow out, Steve? Or
It is, look.
uh, okay, look, if you're female iRacer, this is a no-brainer. I mean, how many female iRacers are there to start with? That's one
Th-
number.
There's enough that they can fill a field. I can tell you that because there's some really good ones in NIS.
Right, but how many know about this and will actually register and show up and do it? It's going to be a handful of people at the end of the day that are going for these prizes, I bet. I would jump all over this because of how many people uh, yeah, are really going to do it.
There's that one gal who does who streams, and she's really good road racer. She was in those
Maria.
that
I think
doesn't
her first
sound
name is Maria, but I can't. It's she's
yeah,
German or some Central European. And yeah,
yeah,
she's Holland
she's really good.
Hollandbeck or something like that. Yeah, she's really good.
So there's some really good ones out there, and I mean that's a serious prize pool there. That's something seriously worth considering. Um, so yeah, absolutely, that's a good deal.
Yeah, it doesn't say here when it starts, but in the beta UI. I think it said like January 13th or something.
Maybe we can get Tony Grove's to get back into it for something like that.
There's some good prizes, man. 15,000 cash. I mean, a brand new sim rig, IMSA race. I mean, wow.
Well, y'all get on that, and maybe even some of the ladies that are doing a lot of the real racing too, but are pretty active in the sim should look at this. It's any opportunity to get more notoriety and income is good. We're going to move on to the next question: Is has the force feedback changed? What do you guys think? John Owens was asking about it in the forums. He said that something seems to change, and Tyler Hudson has been engaging in the thread to work through what people are saying.
I
I
think
went,
it's David Tucker. Yeah, not Tyler.
yeah,
Yeah, I changed that. Sorry.
I went through and read quite a few of these, and there's some people that think have changed, but David Tucker said nothing changed. Basically, they just made it for safety reasons. Like you said last week, they raised it to what was it, the filter up to 15%, Mike?
Smoothing, which is really a low pass filter at 15%. Yeah, and then you could move it back to 0 if you don't want it. So, but what this thread is, David, I mean, I mean, there were people saying that it still feels different, okay, regardless of that. And so I actually, if you see, I posted in this thread somewhere and tagged David Tucker and I asked him, do we have a problem? And this is what he said. He said, okay, I found a bug, but it was simple sign unsigned issue that I introduced when rearranging code for an upcoming project. I just patched it up and it works so much better now. This also affects the auto button. So if you've been hitting auto and finding the forces are clipping, then this is the issue. Now that I have all this instrumented up, I'm going to spend some time testing it and make sure it's doing what it should. But I will try to get this submitted for the patch by tomorrow night so you can get the fix sometime this week. So I don't know. I didn't see in the release notes that this was put out. So I still presume it's not fixed.
Well, there you go. Something has changed. Another thing that has changed over the years is how the car drives. And as styles change, it tends to suit certain driver styles and other driver styles less, right? And that's what we've probably seen happen with Ray Alfala, as for the first time, he is not going to make the Coke series.
You're not points. He came out
So
with a
yeah,
tweet describing why, and I'll read it and then we'll discuss. It says, the current tire does not reward driving at the limit of grip, which is where I won as many championships as you have career top fives in Coke. It's on me for not adapting. But these tires reward not how fast to go, not who can go fast. There's way too much tire saving at the moment. So what do you think?
Well, the Ray describes it as knowing how fast to go, not how to go fast. Um, I don't know because I don't feel like tire management is as big of a deal now as it used to be. But I think what he's saying right now is that in their testing, they basically established where the limit is and go there, and they never really have to worry about handling. That part is true. You don't have to worry about the handling, but I don't know if really tire saving is bringing in the winner every time.
I think it's the way the car handles. I mean, Ray was really good in the old car that wasn't pack racing. I mean, the car was so hard to drive back, before they had the low downforce car, the car before the next gen car. It was really fun to drive, and I mean, now I think the car in ways is a lot easier to drive than it used to be. I think that's probably why he's had to try to change his driving style.
Yeah, and that is, I think, the biggest difference too, and it's affected real drivers too. You just don't have to drive it with the throttle now. And this car, not so much in the sim as in real life. In real life, this car, there's only push loose. You can not get up and get a car in front of you. You can't take the air off the spoiler. It just doesn't work. I mean, their diffuser does more than their spoiler anyway.
And this car too it's harder to feel. I still don't know what the car's doing all the time. The old car I did before they had the low downforce car, but
The steering
um,
just feels numb to me.
yeah, and it doesn't want to stop. I mean, two deficits.
Well, it'll be interesting Coke season without Ray Alfala for the first time in a lot in as far as I know.
Yeah, no old guy to root for now.
So who's the next oldest guy in Coke? I'll have to figure out who that is.
Well, a lot of them have been run out by getting hired by iRacing.
We're racing with one, huh? On Monday nights.
That'll be fun to talk about. That's the first time I've really heard him mad, and it was at the sim too. It was pretty entertaining. Next thing we do have though is the iRacing damage model video from iRacing, which is featuring the damage model on all the IMSA cars.
More eye candy. Lots of good wrecks just to show you what this damage model is all about. Like I said, if you look closely at it and watch some replays, you're going to love it.
And this is how particularly prototype cars s- happen. They have the front fender and the rear fender are pretty much almost replaceable parts, and those are popping off whenever they hit walls.
Yeah, the body work coming off, like you said, in the right places. That makes sense. But the GT cars, you don't really see all the body parts coming off as much.
Bodies on the GT cars are probably a lot more sturdy.
Well, and they're more like actual cars rather than sheet metal thrown over the frame or fiberglass thrown over the frame. They don't have the replaceable clips like the prototypes do. You can if you get arrow damage on the prototype in a race and don't take any suspension damage, they almost in the time of a regular pit stop, they can swap the nose and you're fixed completely. They can literally just completely rip off the whole body work and they've got a spare ready to pop on.
Well, you got to say now that they've got it on multi-class, the damage model, you almost want to say that is it fully deployed? Is the damage model fully deployed? I don't think it's fully deployed. There's certainly cars out there, vintage cars and stuff that don't have the damage model yet, but the majority of, the active series, I think, are all have damage model now, if not
At
all
least
of them.
the most popular ones.
The popular ones, right?
I'm pretty sure that WEC and IMSA are actually kind of the biggest cars that on the service. At least what I go to and what I see, they have the biggest numbers. Now I don't mess around with B Open and C Open to see if they have better numbers than A Open, but some of the IMSA races are just in prime time American time zone or 300 or 400 people, more people than are showing up for NIS. All
COVID
right.
effect.
And more graphic effects, where you've got a video featuring the tire canvassing effect.
Yeah, Lou 2 Race posted up on the TikTok video of him doing donuts in the W12. Maybe it's the W13. I don't know. I found it interesting that you see the wear on the tire as he's doing the donut, and the rubber's coming off, but it's coming off the middle and the inner shoulder, so that it obviously the tire has camber in it. That left side of the tire it doesn't have any wear, right, Adam?
Yeah, the outside of the tire, it's probably yeah, the tire's probably cambered in, so that's why the inside's wearing out.
Yeah, because it's gonna once it's under load, you're gonna have that it's gonna be more flat.
You see that on my go kart tires. The outside, the right front is barely used. Like you could probably flip a tire on the wheel and run the tire backwards.
I
Yeah,
remember watching Formula One races back in the day where they would come in for a pit stop and their tires were blistered where they kind of look like this. So I guess this is the same effect.
All right. It's that wraps the topics. We can jump into a couple of events. The first one, these are kind of rehits of last week. We have the Chili Bowl coming up again.
It's
You want to tell us a little
ongoing
about
this
that,
week.
Brian?
Yeah, they're going through the super sessions right now up until the 18th. So I think you can still have a chance to get into some of these super sessions, and then you'll reverse you advance to the next set of races, which will be coming up on the weekend. So yeah, I think you can still probably get some results in here and possibly make it. Um, but I think it's going to be pretty tough at this point. And then they'll go through all the different uh, alphabet soup of main events. You know, starting with the E and going down to the A to eliminate everybody until you get to the championship race, which is coming up this
Uh,
weekend. So
well, on getting in, super sessions are based on points throughout the week, right?
yes,
Okay. So for 4 races, just to rehash how your points work in any league or any official series, up to 4 races, you get your best one race. Once you hit 5 races, it averages your best two. 9 races, it averages your best three. So consider that in thinking about if you're going to have bad races or you're mostly having good races, if you want to keep trying to push that point up or stick with what you've got if you're really trying to point race.
I used to chase that when I back in the day, I would decide if, oh, I'm going to do 1 out of 4, or I'm going to go with 2 out of 5, and I would look at the points carefully before I did that fifth start. Nowadays, I don't even care. I just if I do want to do a fifth start, I just do it.
Yeah, I'm the same way with the road races because some weeks I may run a bunch, some I'm not, and I don't even look at where I am in the points because I'd just rather run the races to pass the time, waiting on the next oval race to come up, the next NIS
Right.
race or something.
Yeah,
And for
you
the off,
find other things that are more valuable, right?
yeah, for the off season, I've just mostly been playing on the road anyway. And then, other than the Chili Bowl, which is kind of really the last 2022 event, we do have some of the 2023 calendar posted. Have a look at that
Uh,
one, Steve.
Yep, it looks like with some of the partnerships still being finalized, the 2023 special events, we're going to go ahead and release the details for our January and February events while we finalize the rest of the calendar. So it looks like they posted the vehicles for the Roar. They've got a GT4 class, which is Aston Martin Vintage GT4, BMW M4 GT4, Mercedes AMG GT4, and the Porsche 718 Cayenne GT4 Club Sport.
That's 4 weeks from now. So that's January 13th through the 15th. 5 weeks from now is the 24 itself. So 5 weeks, guys.
That's coming up. Not too shabby. Now on the downshift today, they actually also announced that they've got the Sebring set. They kind of fussed at themselves for announcing it on the podcast instead of somewhere else, but they went ahead and dropped word that the Sebring 12 is set. I don't think he gave a date or anything, but they have it all set. They were talking about they kind of dropped it when they were talking about the artwork updates at Sebring. The only other thing
Podcast
on there
house.
is oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
The only other thing on there is the Daytona 500 and the Bothurst, which is all GT cars at Mount Panorama.
Hey, podcast housekeeping. Don't forget to leave us a review of your favorite on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for other listeners to find us. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate it. Get involved on our Discord and you'll get in the conversation. And don't forget the website iRacersLounge.com. We are in regular rotation over at the Performance Motorsports Network and the Sim Racing channel on Roku TV.
All right, hardware software is presented by Metro Ford, and it's also kind of, sort of, not officially presented by SemuCube, right? Because we got a lot. We didn't. We had these last week ready, but we just with the patch we did not get to talk about them much. So the first thing we're going to hit, Steve, and this is kind of you're really the one who's been fishing in this and looking at us. So tell us a little bit more on these active pedals.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of communication, especially on SimuCube's Discord channel. Lots of videos of guys that tried the pedals out at the Sim Racing Expo here a few weeks ago. And if you go to our show notes, you can actually watch the videos. There's a pretty good one um, with a couple people trying the pedals that we have videos on, and also Dan Suzuki. They show him. He's got a quick video from Twitter trying the pedals out, and everybody seems to think that they might be a little steep, but being the first ones out with this type of technology, the way they're able to set them up, that that they're probably worth it. And they're gonna, it seems like SimuCube's going to start getting specs from all the major race cars teams on the pedals, so they can actually match them up exactly to what the real pedals feel like, which I think is really interesting. So it's definitely worth a read to go through all these show notes. We could spend a long time on these, and it's a lot of reading, but basically everybody came kind of to the same conclusion.
Got a
Yeah,
quote I'll read.
it's all a bunch. Okay, you're going to read from Marco. Is that the one you're going to read?
No, I'm going to read Dan Suzuki. He said, wow, very unique feeling. The effects are great and super immersive. Price is very steep, but it's also a completely new approach. Highly recommend trying them before you judge by the price.
Yeah, and they're still sticker shock, right? But I can remember a time before I even bought the Fanatec's when I never thought I would have bought the hydraulic pedals at the price I bought them. So, but bang for buck, we'll see. And the next thing that we do have is Marco from SimuCube discusses the pricing and says that he basically has read every thought to kind I'm gonna this is a long quote. I'm gonna just sum it up. He thinks he knows the price was a shock for many, but it's an exceptional piece of gear